Sound weapons are music to nobody's ears.
We're talking sonic weapons here and abroad today on The Undercurrent.
Greetings and salutations from the North Pole. It's a nice
Even down
toasty
here in
8
the
degrees
South.
here in Chicago.
What's the weather here? I've been running around all morning and I didn't check the weather. Let's see what we got here it's 27.
Ooh,
27
that's pretty
years.
crisp for down south there.
Yeah, but it's balmy compared to you guys. Well, I'll be up there
right?
next week. We'll see what happens.
What's up, Max? Good to see you, Max. And the scary monsters like toads. What? They might. They're good eating down south, especially the toad legs.
Good to see you, Max.
Have you ever had frog legs? You ever eaten those?
Yeah, they were kind of a thing in Chicago back in the 70s. I think that people thought, it was dramatic and classy to eat frog legs, and there were like places that had that. There was a place also, by the way, in Chicago called Cafe Bohemia, and you can find their menus online. They're actually quite fascinating, but they specialized in exotic game meat. So they had tiger steaks and elephant steaks and all that kind of stuff. We might want to go ahead and grab one of those someday just to have some fun at the end of the show. We wanted to talk some old Chicago stuff.
Yeah, I've had emu burgers before, and
emu's good.
It was actually, yeah, it's
red meat.
It's the consistency of steak, but it's very lean, and
yeah,
it was kind of a fad in like the late 80s, early 90s.
It was
for some of the farmers down south who would grow, they raise cattle, but they're like, screw it, let's throw some emus in here. And like I said, the meat was great, but I guess I don't know why that died out. I guess people were just like, ooh, emu. I don't know. I'm kind of that ain't a cow. I ain't too I reckon I ain't too good into that, but what I had was tasty.
There was also this thing with emu oil that they would take the fat and they would process it, but it was considered to be great as an antiseptic, and also for aches and pains. That was the thing for a while as well.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Didn't know the medicinal properties of emu. I mean, there's so many natural remedies that you can get that you don't have to deal with pharmaceutical companies and stuff like that. I know with like CBD is a good one too. Like you have your they also, I mean, so you can get cannabis not just in the flower form or even in the little vape thing. You could eat it, but at the same time they also have creams and tinctures that you can use too that they've helped a lot of people, and it's just been demonized. Anytime somebody mentions cannabis, they always bring up like Cheech and Chong or some business like that, and you're like, come on, let's grow up here. I would rather have the natural stuff than these pharmaceuticals any day, especially you see these drug commercials. Side effects may include death. Look, I'm just trying to keep my skin from itching. All right, I don't want a side effect of death. No, thank you. So, but it's crazy, all these side effects, right?
It can't be. Let's say, well, suicidal thoughts and your liver may fail.
Right.
But again, those are usually the drug has been tested. This is something that could happen, but the benefits are outweighing the minor chance of a health risk. Whereas CBD tinctures may not be standardized or as well tested. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't get along with cannabis in any form. It just does not. It really does not work well for me at all.
Have you never tried any of the creams or anything like that for like
I've
joint pain or anything?
I've never tried a cream, and that's fair enough. But ingesting it in any form, even in very small doses, it just does not agree with me at all. I could try a cream and see if that works.
It's not for everybody, that's for sure. Just like everything else, you know, it's
Yeah.
you can't just broadly say okay, it's fine for everybody, because some people are actually allergic to cannabis, and I know people who are, and I feel bad for them, because I know all the wonderful properties it has. But anyway, we could probably just do a whole show about natural remedies versus pharmaceuticals one day. I think that would be interesting for the peeps. What do you think?
I don't have the scientific background to do something that I think would be credible. On that, I mean, I think that could be interesting. And I think there's a lot that could be discussed about why people will use those remedies or go to holistic practitioners, largely because of the way insurance companies in this country make it so hard for the medical profession to actually do the work of healing. And we could, so.
And I think that's why a lot more people are going towards natural remedies, because for one thing, pharmaceuticals are way too expensive, and you have to get a doctor to prescribe it for you. So you have to pay the doctor bill as well, when you could get something that you research, and obviously do any kind of research whenever you're taking something for your own health, and probably ask your own doctor too. If you're going in for a checkup, just ask them some questions about that kind of stuff, or not just cannabis, any of these other natural remedies too, because these pharmaceutical companies, they sure do take a bite.
They do,
for sure.
By the way, Uncle Warren, we do have I want to welcome our folks here, but we do have an important top of the hour thing that we want to mention. We'll mention it at the end as well, but we got some news.
Okay. I can't read your cryptic message, but I think I understand what you're saying.
Oh,
you're
I'm
talking
sorry.
About what we talked about before the show. Okay. All right.
Yeah. And that is, as we mentioned last week, we are going to start the show starting next week. The show will begin at 11 a.m. Central Time. That is noon Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Mountain, and then 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Sorry about that, Pacific Time. We're moving it up a little bit. We're noticing that people are coming in a little later to the stream. We've been talking to some folks. We're going to make it later. And so we'll be putting that into, we'll do a post on our various locations where you can view the show. We'll put that into our Substack newsletter and our socials. But just to remind everybody, starting next week, the show starts at 11 a.m. Central Time. And we're hoping that will bring in some more folks. The other thing is we're eventually going to phase out running the show on the Extra Bulla and my own YouTube channels. We're wanting to push people over to the Undercurrent channel. There's a number of reasons for that. And one of them just very simply is that we want to be able to eventually monetize the channel, and that will help us to do that. And if you can also, like us on our socials, we do have a page on Facebook as well as on Instagram. The more people we have, then we can start streaming directly to those channels. Right now, we don't have enough people to live stream directly to those channels. And I'm going to put this into the comments for folks.
Meanwhile, let's say hi to everybody. We got Max is here, and we got Peace Dove. Good to see you. Of course, Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show. 40 years ago today, the universe lost the bold crew of the USA Space Shuttle Challenger. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. Yep. 1986. I was in school for that. I remember that. That's part of the reason why Gen X is so traumatized. For the most part. Willie Bragg's in the house too. What's up, Willie? Thanks for having us on your show last night. That was a fun time.
That was awesome. Yeah, check out Willie's show, folks. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to it and check out the show. We got all Gen Xer on that show. It was a lot of fun. And it turns out we're all 69 babies.
Mm-hmm. Yep. January, February, March. It's weird how that worked out like that. So
yeah, we're gonna have some fun.
It was a good year. It was a good year for us anyway, because we were born. I
don't know if it's good for anybody else, but it was good for us.
Yeah, I mean, you had Woodstock that year, and we went to the moon that year. So allegedly, uh,
Uncle
I know people like,
Warren.
we didn't go to the moon. I'm like, yeah, we went to the moon. We just saw critters up there. That's why we didn't come back. Yeah. So anyway, we guess might well get to the news portion of all this. Our the Riptide, the show that Ellen calls this whole show the Riptide. I thought that was funny.
That was awesome. That was just awesome.
It's like, close enough, Ellen. We love you.
No, Ellen's awesome.
Yeah, she is. She's fantastic.
Oh, P Stuff got married in '69. Cool.
Who's that?
P Stuff
P
got
Stuff
married.
did?
Yeah, got married in
Oh, wow.
1969.
P Stuff, you're not that old. Stop it.
Stop it.
Trying to get attention over here. Yeah, so let's get to the news. Some disturbing news right off the bat. I guess all of this news is kind of disturbing. Ilhan Omar attacked during town hall meeting last night. U.S. Representative from Minnesota, Ilhan Omar, was sprayed with an unknown substance by an assailant while calling for the abolition of the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the artist formerly known as ICE, at a town hall meeting in Minneapolis. We have the video right here.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Yeah.
ICE cannot be reformed. It cannot be rehabilitated. We must abolish ICE for good.
Yeah. So he has it. You can tell here he has this syringe in his hand, and it looks like some sort of like yellow liquid. I'm assuming. I'm only going to assume that it's probably urine. Because if it's yellow and stinky and easy to get, that's probably what it was. But we don't know. They still haven't figured out what it is. But I would say if I was somebody like that to get something easy to do like that, which is pretty messed up. So she wasn't injured in the attack yesterday, and authorities said the assailant, who is unnamed right now, was arrested on third-degree assault charges, according to Reuters. They didn't disclose further information about the liquid sprayed on her. The brief attack was captured by on video by C-SPAN and showed a man rushing Omar's podium as she called for the abolition of ICE and the resignation of Department of Homeland Security Kristi Noem. So this is unfortunately what I was afraid was going to start happening.
Yeah.
With the especially there seems to be some sort of fascination with Somalians on the right, the extreme right, I should say, not everybody on the right, but most of the extreme right who have been dog whistled into attack, and of course all the stuff that we're going to go into here in just a second about what's been happening with ICE and the murders. And they are murders, straight up murders, murders in Minnesota. So whether you disagree with a politician or not, this kind of stuff, you can't, this does nothing for you. It just makes you look just terrible, right? At the very least, it makes you just look like a terrible person. And at worst, God knows, what, you're doing to these people. And of course, these things have consequences too.
Yeah.
Right. You attack somebody like that, even if you think it's something benign of whatever it is, it's still, they're going to amp up security. And that's all just gives government officials just more reason to do more oppression. I would think.
Well, it certainly raises tensions. People are more on edge. Being attacked by anybody is going to, even if the person didn't actually harm you, it's going to shake you up. Mm-hmm. And people around that, you become more heightened. There's more people are just more on edge. They're less trustful of each other, and that can have a boomerang effect. You have the security is more jumpy, And again, that can have a boomerang. You know, they can overcompensate as a result. There's a better chance of the person who is allegedly an attacker being seriously injured, if not worse. It feeds into a general atmosphere of tension, stress, and distrust.
Yeah, and this was the Trump administration has been no fan of Ilhan Omar's anyway, and has just been dogging her this whole time. And of course, some of the minions of people that follow Trump was just like, oh well, we got to do something about it. And this is, you know, why we have Trump is because of many things. He just didn't pop up out of nowhere. You know, and this is why we need to take our elected officials, the choosing of our elected officials more seriously too, because of stuff like this. You know, you have the duopoly where you basically have no choice. You either pick them or you don't vote. That's basically what's going on. And you know, if you grind down your public to a certain point, you're going to raise up a madman like that. We've seen it before in Germany. You know who? You know the one. Dr. Everything Won't Be All Right. That guy. You raise despots and dictators in that fashion when you oppress the people like that, or at least when you don't do what the people want you to do as elected representatives. So getting into what happened in Minnesota, not just there, but over the weekend, of course, everybody's heard by now about Alex Preddy. And so the handling of evidence related to Alex Preddy's death raises concerns. They say death, but it's murder. Raises concerns about probe's integrity. So federal investigators are reviewing body camera footage from multiple angles in the fatal shooting, murder of Alex Preddy, 37-year-old intensive care nurse at a VA hospital. As new revelations about evidence handling, including a lack of documented chain of custody for his registered firearm, raised concerns about the integrity and credibility of the investigation. I'm not going to play the video, but you've seen the video probably a bunch of times. That he had a registered weapon on him, but it was removed from him and taken away by an agent, and then he was summarily executed after that. And that's not hyperbole. It's right on the video.
That is what happened. He was I've only seen it once. I can't watch it again.
Yeah, it's very disturbing.
The whole thing was very disturbing. As I said, this weekend, you know, I was prepared for an ice storm and a winter storm and cold weather and the possibility of my power going out and my cat and I having to seek shelter someplace. What I ended up doing was pacing around my place, cooking to get my mind off the fact that I was really questioning whether the Republic was going to survive this. This was absolutely horrific. I don't know what I've been. I don't know that I've ever. The last time I was this horrified, it's either 9/11 or January 6th. But this went far over that. This went far over this. This I didn't see it, and I still don't see us coming back from this.
Preddy worked, as we said, he worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs, was shot and killed by a Border Patrol officer around 9 a.m. on Saturday in South Minneapolis. Two law enforcement officials told CBS News that body camera footage from multiple federal agents exists and is currently under review, but it remains unclear if the footage will be released to the public. Department
after it's been doctored.
Yeah, right. But it's too late. The video's already out there, and
he's already dead. He's already dead. It's too late because he's already dead. This never should have happened.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can doctor as much footage as they want.
They're talking about body camera footage. There's other footage out there. The body camera footage, you know what they're doing.
Right. Well, the body, yeah, if they doctor the body camera footage, it's not going to match up with the other footage that's readily available on several platforms. So Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem was asked at a briefing Saturday about the FBI's role in the investigation and whether body camera footage would be released. She didn't commit to making the video public and deflected other questions, saying she would not speak to the investigation and the details while it continues. But she's more than willing to talk about other things that are happening, as you know, like saying that the good lady, that was an open and shut case. The video shows it. Well, this is an open and shut case. The video shows that ICE murdered this guy. The investigation is being led by ICE's Homeland Security Investigations under Special Agents in Charge Mark Zito and Jason Todd Stevens, with assistance from the FBI, according to multiple officials briefed on the case. FBI Director Kash Patel told Fox News on Sunday all the pieces of the investigation are being led by DHS in HSI, but HSI lacks the ability to process certain kinds of material like scientific and forensic evidence, including fingerprints, DNA, ballistic data, and firearm-related physical evidence. So FBI investigators will be focusing on those aspects. But multiple officials briefed on the investigation said there is no documented chain of custody for Preddy's handgun, a failure that could complicate forensic reliability and undermine any future criminal or civil rights prosecution. That's the most important part here. Yes, they can doctor the video, but the handgun is the most important. And you can see on the video, one of the officers he takes the gun away from him and is going across the street with the gun, and then, you know, pop, pop, pop. Multiple officials briefed on the investigation said there's no documented chain of custody for his handgun, failure that could, okay. According to those officials, the firearm was placed on the seat of a vehicle instead of being secured in a required plastic evidence bag and labeled with standard identifying details, including the date, the item, the name of the last person who handled it. What procedure? No, these guys don't do procedure. They're just homunculoids who just barge into people's houses without warrants. The Department of Homeland Security later released a photograph of the weapon, which officials familiar with the evidence said appears to be a custom Sig Sauer P320 chambered in 9mm. So, and just a little bit more here, the proper chain of custody typically ensures ballistics, fingerprint, and DNA findings remain admissible. Deviations from protocol can become focal points in criminal defense challenges, civil rights litigation, and internal discipline reviews. So, just to recap, he was the second person in Minnesota that was murdered by ICE. Of course, what's her name? I can't remember her first name. Renee Good got shot in the face, and apparently that wasn't enough for there to even be an investigation by DHS. Is pretty messed up. Yeah.
And you know, you and I have had this conversation. I think we talked about it yesterday on Willie Bragg's show. It's monstrous. It's incredibly, it's upsetting, it's disturbing, and it's got people's heads in going in all directions, which again is not good for anybody. Such as, you know, this attack on Representative Omar. It's heightened tensions. It's making everything worse. I think what did happen is that the ICE agents in this case, you know, just a bunch of bumbling fools. It was easy enough to demonize Renee Good because she was a lesbian, married to a woman, and that she had, you know, she was divorced. She had kids she didn't have custody of. This has happened to women and men in the past who have been part of movements. Jean Seberg, the actress, for example, who was very active in support of the Black Panthers and the civil rights movement, she was demonized and basically hounded to her death when she was pregnant. There was another woman who was who was one of the freedom riders, or was involved with that. She was shot and killed and immediately demonized because she'd been married and divorced a few times. What they got with Outspready, however, and they, Kristi Noem was really quick to describe him in very poor terms. He was described as a domestic terrorist by Stephen Miller, who was very creepy, a very creepy man. And Kristi Noem,
he's a domestic terrorist. That's who.
Yeah,
that's who
and so is
is.
she. I mean, when it comes right down to it, she is just they are enemies of the people. But the thing of it is that it shows just how incompetent a lot of these folks are around Donald Trump, and of course the incompetence of ICE, because in doing all that, first of all, they have ticked off the NRA, which is absolutely the one organization that the MAGA crowd does not want to be taking off, because they're supposed to be allied. And and they were using, the talking points got flipped in all this. Well, why was he carrying? If you don't carry a gun unless you plan to do something bad with it. Well, you just went ahead and flipped all this. And then we're seeing people who are from the left or left liberals or whatever you want to call them saying, oh, by the way, if you want to buy a gun, this is what you need to buy. And saying, hey, what he was doing was absolutely legal and protected by the Second Amendment. So there's one good thing that's emerged from this, is maybe some folks will actually start talking to each other when they find out that there may be points of agreement. Mm-hmm. And people are being a lot more vocal about that point of agreement. But so you had that. He was a nurse, and again, America does not run on Duncan; it runs on nurses. And he was, and people respect nurses. And as I also said, and this is important, he worked for the VA. So now, and he was apparently well regarded by his patients' families, his coworkers. And so now, potentially picking fights with veterans and their families, but also it's not a good look if the VA is hiring domestic terrorists.
Yeah, that makes a good point.
Yeah, so this, I think that this was something that kind of has blown a lot of this wide open, and there's an opportunity here to open up some lines of communication and say, what the heck? I would like to see Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem at least hauled before Congress and grilled on the fact that they use this language. I mean, she was ridiculous. She was saying, he had this gun. Here's a picture of a gun. And she showed a picture of a gun, but she didn't show him with it.
Right. Yeah. It's funny how the hypocrisy of this too. I've heard all my life about Second Amendment rights. And this guy he didn't even pull out they said he had his gun out. He didn't have his gun out. He had a camera. He had his phone out, and he was documenting everything that was going on. There was a young lady that ICE, one ICE agent had pushed over, and he went to go help her. I mean, he was just being helpful to this person. Does your friend want to get on camera? Is that what it is?
He's in the back there. Yes, he's complaining. I'm a very bad person. So,
but this is the worst nightmare of right wingers, is lefties deciding that they want to arm up now to protect themselves, and it's almost like the dog catching the car, right? It's like, yeah, well, everybody should have Second Amendment rights. Okay, well, what about the leftists? What about people of color? What about Black Panthers at these things who are carrying big ass guns? Well, I was just
exactly.
Second Amendment for me, not for thee. That's
right.
I think that's how that works.
But I would say, Chuck, yes, you just heard Ned, and Max, yes, it is meow. But I would also point out that this is a moment, okay, where yes, for some right wingers, this is their worst nightmare. Second Amendment, so-called their political opponents getting strapped. But here's the thing. There's also an opportunity here to say, wait a minute, I thought you folks felt this way. But the three of us, Willie, you, and myself, were on Willie's show last night. And we all said, yeah, we support gun rights. And we all said, yeah, and we do. And there are hardcore Marxists out there who are very much of, no, we support gun rights. I think Karl Marx himself said, don't give up your weapons. That's what I've heard. Don't quote me on that. Hey, Tom, good to see you as well. Yeah, the right is immune to self-awareness. But the thing of it is, this is an opportunity for maybe some self-reflection. When you find out that your liberal neighbor actually agrees with you on gun rights, and we can have that can open up a conversation. And I think, again, with the NRA coming out, I would say guns blazing, but on this. And, so I think that's why Trump and his handlers, or his handlers, told Trump, you got to switch things up here and cool this down is critical. But the problem is that the genie may be out of the bottle, and we just had this attack on Ilhan Omar. And again, it may have been that he was just squirting urine at her. And that's what it could very easily have been, but it could have been something else. And again, this is just fueling tension. It's not good, but I am seeing some possible cracks that could cool things down, and that could potentially get people talking to each other, where we can say enough's enough.
Well, Trump apparently is already in the process of de-escalating in Minnesota, and probably to your point, because of the NRA coming out, and because they were thought, and the NRA at least has just been like, their message has been simple: the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Second Amendment. And when this guy's Second Amendment rights are called into question, they would be very hypocritical if they didn't say something about it. So the ICE head there, it was, I don't know if he was the head in Minnesota or overall, but Bovino.
Oh, Lord. And that's a uniform that he was wearing. Did you see that thing? But he was let go. That's the point. Yeah, well, it's good,
but we can worry about his fashion tastes later. But he was let go. That was part of it. But Tom Homan is still running the show. So it's like, well, okay, you just cut off a fingernail. You didn't cut off the whole hand like you were supposed to. But Preddy and Good were not the only ones who have been the victims of ICE this year. As more people have been taken out by ICE too. So the killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Nicole Good by federal immigration agents this month has shocked the U.S., prompting protests across the country and igniting calls for accountability. At least 6 immigrants have died in the custody of ICE already this year, and a 7th person was fatally shot by an off-duty ICE officer. I can't get enough murder, he said. I'm paraphrasing. Last year, 32 deaths were reported in ICE custody. So it's not just on the streets, it's them in custody too. While most of the deaths were due to health complications, some of the late detainees' families have made accusations of abuse and medical neglect against ICE. Preddy, a 37-year-old nurse, was killed, as we told you. Good was shot on January 7th after she tried to drive away from federal agents who surrounded her car. There was also Keith Porter on New Year's Eve. An off-duty ICE agent shot Porter in Los Angeles and killed him. The exact circumstances of the shooting remain contested, and there are no known videos of the incident. The Department of Homeland Security described Porter, who was black, as an active shooter, but his family says he was merely firing his gun to welcome the new year. And if you've ever been in LA or any places like that, there's a lot of pop, 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 pop. It's the game of, is it fireworks or is it, Chicago too, New Orleans, all these big cities. Like, is it fireworks or is it gunshots? We all joke about that, but a lot of times it's bullets going up in the air. And remember, kids, bullets come back down. So maybe refrain from doing that.
Yeah, don't.
But also, let's see. There was Geraldo Lunas Campos earlier this month. The Cuban immigrant died on January 3rd at the agency's largest detention facility, Camp East Montana in Texas. Since then, contradicting details have emerged about his death, which a medical examiner has ruled a homicide, meaning caused by another person. That's what murder is. So you have that person, Victor Manuel Diaz. Immigration authorities arrested Nicaraguan immigrant Diaz on January 6th in Minneapolis as part of their immigration crackdown. 8 days later, he died in ICE custody at the same Camp East Montana in Texas. And there's more names here too. Luis Beltran Yanez Cruz, Heber Sanchez Dominguez. And like I said, it's not just in the streets that this is happening. This is happening in these detention facilities as well. And, it's not like these detention centers are a new thing. They've been around for quite some time.
Yeah.
But now it just seems like the deaths are being ramped up. And you see these videos of kids getting taken away from parents and stuff. It's a nightmare. I'm not a parent, but I would be very scared for my kids, even though I'm El Blanco. It does, Predis and Good. They were both white too, and both citizens.
They were as white as we are.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you start murdering citizens. I mean, it's bad enough when you're just murdering people in general that you call domestic terrorists or whatever. Because that's a very convenient label to put on somebody so you can justify murdering them without any sort of investigation like that.
Yeah, as I said, I think the genie's out of the bottle. I'm hoping it can get stuffed back in. And in the meantime, I'm hoping the cracks that people are seeing will get people to talk to each other and demand that this nonsense end.
A.B. Haig, good to see you. Things were worse under Obama, but that doesn't fit the narrative. Well, I mean, he deported more people. And of course, you also your Democratic presidents are going to get more cover from the mainstream media as well. So that's probably why you didn't hear a lot about the atrocities that were happening in detention centers from way back then, from when he was president too. So it's a good point. And we should mention that this is not something new, that Trump is just ramping it. He's cranking it up to 11 to make a Spinal Tap reference, basically what he's doing. But this is nothing new when it comes to immigration. That's why people have been wanting immigration reform for so long, because these poor people are fleeing their countries that are being affected by our foreign policies, right? Coups and trying to, change leaderships and stuff like that. And these people are just, and this turmoil is created in their countries. So they have to flee their countries, and where they come here, it's just like kind of like out of the frying pan and into the fire almost.
Well, I would also point out that Obama, under Obama, my understanding is that the deportations that happened under Obama and Biden were along the border, where these are more of the interior deportations, or these activities are more in the interior, and that's a whole other topic. One thing I think that there needs to be an honest conversation about in this country is that we've had a nudge, wink, wink approach to undocumented people living and working here, which I don't think on the whole is a good thing for any number of reasons. But one of the reasons for that is because these are folks who will do jobs that nobody else will do, and they will work in violation of labor laws, which benefits the employers. And that we rely on this undocumented behavior. Labor, and in this country, and businesses are running and profiting off of the fact that they don't have to obey labor laws. And that's a conversation that has to be had. We have an economy that's built on the back of blatant violation of immigration and labor law in this country. And that has to happen.
I just want to correct our friend here. She didn't drive towards the agent. She was driving away from the vehicle. She was driving away with her vehicle, and she got shot in the face. So if you're good with that, you can go fuck yourself. And Preddy didn't need to bring a gun. He had a Second Amendment right to carry a weapon, and he didn't even have it out. He wasn't threatening anybody with this gun. So
a lot of people do carry. A lot of people
hang on just a second, please. Before you comment, at least educate yourself on the facts, so you don't look stupid and you don't get your name and your comments put up on the screen by us, because we're going to call you out on that bullshit. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
There's a lot I have to say at this point. And one thing I will say, this is my friend Andrew. We don't agree on everything, but one thing I am concerned about, and he brings this up in another comment, no reason to bring it up, but I do feel that Waltz and Fry, the mayor, may have walked into a trap with some of this, but I think that's because of who got murdered here. That's not going to happen. But I did feel that they had kind of walked into a trap, because one of the things that was happening is they were talking about the ICE agents left, and they left state and local police to mop up after them. And the mob was out for, was very, very angry at this point. They were out for blood at this point. They were furious. And so the mob they were in a bind, because they had to maintain public order. But now they were being held responsible for the state and local constabulary that was there to mop up after this. And at the same time, Donald Trump or anybody else could have used their asking the feds to leave and to get out and to stop killing their citizens as a pretext for the Insurrection Act. So I was very concerned that there was a trap that had been set up here. There was no easy way out. I think what got out was the fact that Alex Preddy was a VA nurse, and that the NRA got pulled into this because of some of the remarks about guns and firearms. So I think that did take that safety valve out, but I'm going to be looking very closely in the future in these scenarios. If these raids continue, if this ICE activity continues, to see what happens and how it happens, because I think it could boil up again, and this kind of trap could be set. That's what I will say.
Well, let's move on to more BS by Trump trying to intimidate Iran. I hope this is okay with your friend there. U.S. mulls precision strikes on Iranian leaders amid military buildup. So Washington is mulling precision strikes on high-value Iranian officials and military leaders whom the U.S. holds responsible for the deaths of protesters, a Gulf source told Middle East Eye on January 26th. I believe that was Monday. Yeah, I think it's Monday. The strikes could come as early as this week, but that timeline could shift, the report said, adding that the talks on the matter within Trump's government have been chaotic. Wow, something chaotic in Trump's government? That's shocking. A former U.S. intelligence official told the outlet that Trump has not given up on regime change, of course. Wonder if he's going to go in and kidnap the Iranian president like he did in Venezuela. The U.S. has been working to replenish supplies of missile interceptors exhausted during the 12-day war. Another source, also a former U.S. official, said, adding that total supplies had moved up, but that the U.S. is still constrained as it provides supplies to Ukraine. Spreading themselves thin, the empire is. I believe that's what happened with Rome. And we all know Rome is just a city in Italy now and not a world empire anymore. Lesson learned, maybe?
Maybe.
Probably not. Yeah, probably. Yeah. So the U.S. has deployed an aircraft carrier, I believe the Abraham Lincoln, additional squadrons of fighter jets and other assets towards the region in massive military buildup, which many have described as a prelude to an upcoming war on Iran. And the USS Abraham has arrived in West Asia. According to reports citing flight tracking data, Washington has reinforced the Muwafaq Salti Air Base in Jordan with F-15 warplanes. Hello, you can go away. Thank you. THAAD missile defense systems have been moved to the region as well. Iranian officials have warned Washington that any attack will be met with a devastating response. We will not allow anyone to undermine our security or cause any harm to our country. Iranian government spokesperson Fatima Mohajarani said on Tuesday, all options are on the table. Yes, please, let's pick a fight with Iran, because somebody's friend in the region said that. Maybe a friend in the region said, yeah, it's ridiculous. Because they murdered protesters. Yeah, there's a crackdown for sure, but this is not why he's doing it. Because if Trump was actually worried about murdered protesters, he'd give a shit about what was happening in Minneapolis. So hypocrisy, anyone?
Yeah. I think that there are people who are still really smarting over the Iran hostage crisis. I remember it very vividly. I know you do too. Mm-hmm. We got Nightline out of that. Nightline, I think it was actually supposed to focus entirely, and then it ended up becoming an institution. Good to see you. Hello, good to see you.
And he makes a good point here. He said those tests were entirely preventable. The ICE agents could have been properly trained and professional, or better yet, they could not be there in the first place using shock and awe tactics. Yeah, I don't think there's any even if that lady was trying to drive at them, which she wasn't. The video shows she was pulling away. And
at what, 2 miles an hour?
Yeah, that constitutes shooting her in the face.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just gonna say no. That doesn't constitute that at all. And the fact that he had a gun at a protest doesn't mean he was going to use it. We've seen several conservative rallies and protests where they have weapons and they don't use them.
Really, right? Big ones.
Yeah, and they're showing off their Second Amendment rights. So, yeah. So, one person, sadly, though, that is not here to help fight with us anymore.
Yeah,
is Michael Parenti, who passed away over the weekend. There he is, right there. Marxist scholar, political analyst, historian, and author Michael Parenti has died at the age of 92. He was an outspoken critic of capitalism, imperialism, and class inequities, whose intellectual works were celebrated around the world. He was the author of over 20 books, including Democracy for the Few and Super Patriotism. He was definitely, as the kids say, one of the real ones. You know what I mean? I believe when Bernie Sanders bowed out of the race and started supporting Hillary, I think he basically cut ties with Bernie Sanders, and they had been friends for a long, long time. And he just said, no, that was just, paraphrasing, I'm sure, but it was definitely a bridge too far. Mm-hmm. And it's sad to see someone like that leave this mortal coil. I mean, 92. I mean, you guess, all right. Maybe it was his time, but still, yeah. If ever we needed more cats like him, it's definitely now.
Yeah. And it happens. And I think the question is, who moves into that space? Journalism is under threat from a number of areas, and I blame all kinds of people and institutions for that. But the kind of journalism that I think he did was remarkable, and it's who's going to step into it. I mean, I like Chris Hedges a lot, and Chris Hedges is kind of my go-to guy for a lot of this. But it's hard to see somebody who's willing to do that sort of thing. And old school journalism, again, do people have the attention span for it anymore?
Right. You can, yeah. It's at this point, it's kind of like when you're giving your pet medicine, right? you want to put it in something that they'll like, that's tasty, and then they take it and they're like, oh, that's delicious, and then they get the medicine too. So it's just like anything else. You kind of have to sell the news at this point, and you have to sell yourself as someone who is presenting those news stories, whether you're a journalist or if you're just doing stuff like we do. The faith in the media, the faith in the mainstream media is totally gone, I think, on both sides of the aisle.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, because this is
right.
not, this is I think a lot of journalists, first of all, are good folks, and that the work of the media is critical. And I'm not talking about debates like we've been having here, but I'm talking about down to what the local utility company is doing, or what happened at a town hall debate or something like that. When there's no faith, people are disgusted. They're pulling their ad dollars, they're pulling their subscriptions, and starving out the profession as well as the media itself. That is not good.
No, not at all. And so that's why you have shows like this one and others in our space that are trying to present, news from alternative sources that aren't mainstream media a lot of times, because of the credibility factor, right? Why would you even listen to somebody that you think may have some sort of agenda? Journalists are not supposed to have agendas. If they have an agenda, the agenda is to tell the truth. And you have a lot of these, like your mainstream media sources, that are bought and paid for by corporate interests who have their own agendas, their own biases and stuff like that. Especially since 1996, when Clinton passed the Telecommunication Act and made it legal for massive companies to own oogles and oogles of news outlets, right? And you see that today. There's on the propaganda watch on my show Morning Extra, you hear there's that video of all these people, these parroting the same thing, and they play it all at the same time, and it's very dystopian, kind of 1984-ish. So yeah, support independent media, but also at the same time, be skeptical.
Yeah,
I would say you don't have to be paranoid, but I would say be skeptical. If there's like some new information outlet that you like, check out where their funding comes from. It's like they say, follow the money, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And if they sound legit to you, they sound pretty honest, then maybe you found what you're looking for. If not, you move on. There's plenty of options out there. You just have to find them.
We can talk more about this later, because we got a lot more to talk about today, but yes.
Yeah, we're going to talk about noise, the art of noise, right? In the catch of the day, not the band, but the actual noise that hurts your ears, with sonic weapons.
Yeah. So you notice that after all this happened, all of a sudden, the kidnapping in Venezuela and all that situation kind of went out of the news cycle. Fortunately, I was able to find some stories about that connect the two, that connect what happened in Venezuela to what is happening, what's happening here in the States. And what I learned is that there was an admission by this administration, and of course, I don't trust anything any of them say. Now, I don't trust anything that any presidential administration has to say, but particularly this one, that there was a funky weapon, a discombobulator, as President Trump put it, that was used to disable the guards when they stormed Maduro's residence. And it brought me back to the 90s, when, if you remember the comic book Suicide Squad, there was the Phoenix Gambit was one of the series, and there was an anti-hero, Count Vertigo, who was a Russian aristocrat who could create could create earthquakes and all kinds of sonic things going on. The problem is that he was bipolar, and he didn't have control over it and created all kinds of havoc. But in any case, what I learned is that they were claiming there was this discombobulation weapon. As Nihilo was saying, there was talking, you maybe remember this, maybe it was about 10 years ago, about the Havana sickness, that Canadians were saying that they were being targeted by sonic weapons. They were coming back with brain bleeds and all kinds of things. And that kind of got shoved under the rug. Nobody seemed to want to talk about it because, of course, it may not be the Cubans at all that were doing it. It could have been the U.S. It could have been just about anybody. But in any case, what I found out was that these weapons, there are these weapons, they're long-range acoustical devices that can be applied in warfare, but they can also be applied as a way of quelling protesters. And that there were some people saying that they were being used in Minneapolis. From what I've been able to find, I've not found anything credible about that, because it's the sort of thing that you would know about because of the sound that they make and the kind of weapons or the kind of the side effects you can get. They can cause, among other things, permanent hearing damage, as well as extreme disorientation and vertigo. If you've ever suffered from vertigo, I have. It is an extremely frightening and distressing condition. Fortunately, we were able to deal with it, my doctor and I. But it's very disturbing. And I was able to find a very interesting website that you just brought up here that focuses on so-called non-lethal or less lethal weapons. I know that there's been at least one person so far in the most recent protests who has lost an eye due to, I believe it is the rubber bullets. People can get severely injured. And so I wanted to make people aware of this kind of weapon, that this could be applied at some point. I'm hoping that it will not be applied in the recent protests, but it is something that could happen. It is typically a very loud, it will amplify voices or sounds, and it's so bad that people can lose their hearing. They can have bleeding. They become very disoriented and scared. And one of the concerns, and this website is put together by physicians who look at various warfare tactics and weapons and offer a medical perspective on how they work, is that these weapons do not discriminate. It's not like you're in the front line of a protest or a mob or whatever you want to call it, and they're targeting somebody there. Anybody in the vicinity, and this could be, a maid or housekeeper, cleaner who's going from one storefront to the next to do their job. It could be children. It could be all kinds of people that could be affected by this. One of my concerns with weapons like this is they are so disorienting. If somebody's shooting at you, you at least know that you're being shot at. Things go bang and they have guns and body armor and that sort of thing. This is kind of like when they talk about radiological weapons and using radiation. You just dump some radioactive material somewhere and everybody around gets sick. They can't see it, they can't smell it, but their gums are bleeding and they're puking their guts out, and that can happen. So there's a psychological aspect to these weapons. And while on one hand, I suppose it is better to use something like this than live ammunition, the way it operates, the potential for long-term injury and disability, and the fact that they are so they simply don't discriminate is deeply troubling. And I want activists to be aware of this. I am seeing some people on YouTube who are saying this is how you can defend against them, but I have no way of evaluating whether their suggestions are accurate. Some people are saying, yeah, you can wear earplugs, which is if you're in a demonstration, if you're in civil, whether it's a peaceful or licensed march, or whether it's civil disobedience, being able to hear the people around you is kind of important. So wearing earplugs may not be the safest defense against it. And people are saying, well, you put your hands over your ears, but you can still be severely injured by these weapons. And I would encourage activists who are going out on the streets to be aware of the possibility of these weapons being used. The fact that it's being brought up, the fact that Donald Trump is signaling and saying and using this discombobulator phrase, and that it's now being introduced, that the U.S. has this, people have it, the groups have this, constabularies have it. I suspect it may be used in the future. Be aware of it and discover ways to either minimize the injury or to avoid it. And of course, to call on law enforcement bodies to not use these weapons, or to be very specific in their protocol for their use. Because yes, they're not technically lethal, but the damage they can do is very, very serious.
Yeah, and the goal, ideally for police is, or in theory rather, is repulsion, right? You're trying to repulse people. You're not trying to destroy their hearing. That's what it should be, right? Like, but and because you also have weapons like pepper spray, which is a chemical agent. They don't even allow you to use that in war. But it's fine to use that kind of stuff on your own people. Yeah, that's there's such thing as trying to restore order, but then there's also when you have weapons like this, that all it does is just drive people to do that more. Hey, Ellen, good morning to you.
Good to see you, Ellen. Good to see you.
That's the thing. It's because the police or these police that are using these tactics, not just ICE, but like some of these major metropolitan police departments are using, they have these tanks, they have these sound cannons for that. And it's really a reflection of the society we live in, that we're out in the streets doing this every day like this anyway. Like France, you see all these protests in France, man, they don't play in France.
No, the fire department, the fire brigade, where they were setting themselves on fire. I mean, the French are very interesting. When they shut stuff down too. And so, but yeah, I mean, and you're going to see that you would think that, I think what they're thinking is, well, if we do this, these people will calm down, and then, we'll have control again. And it's like, no, dude, you're just making it worse. You're just making it worse with these kind of things, especially like if it is the Havana syndrome, if that is an actual real thing. I didn't take it seriously when they were talking about it either at the time. But now when you mention sound weapons, it kind of makes sense a little bit. Yeah, it's again, the rumor is out there, and I've not found anything credible to say that it was used in Minneapolis. And again, and some of the language around this, I really think is some propaganda I don't trust a lot of the language around this, but these weapons do exist. They can cause real damage. They do not discriminate. And the fact that the president was discussing them, that this is coming out in the open, I'm wondering if this is signaling, okay, it's entered into the discourse. It's entered into the national mythology. Is it next? Possibly. People should be aware of it.
Well, definitely. And of course, worst comes to worst, you can also see a lot of lawsuits being filed, especially people do have permanent damage
or children. I mean, there could be children.
It could be kids. Yeah. And anybody who's expressing their First Amendment rights to protest, and the police in turn decide to destroy your hearing, among other things. Yeah, I mean that's another factor of it too, is lawsuits that, of course, a lot of these cities, the taxpayers pay for what the idiocy of the police, because they have this immunity from litigation, which I find to be very disturbing. I think that needs to be taken away as well, especially in light of like cities like New York and Chicago, where the police have been to breaking people's First Amendment rights to is mild, to say the least. So well, it's time to wade into the recurring tide. I hope you wore your swimsuit, because we've got more stuff. I know everybody's been talking about this weather that we've had over the weekend. And spoiler alert, more is coming, mostly for like the Mideast, the Midwest, and parts of the South, and of course the Northeast as well. But just kind of updating you here. The winter storm full coverage. Northeast blanketed in heavy snow, while ice accumulation leaves 600,000 in the South without power. I remember, if you remember a few years back, Texas, who their power grid is self-contained. It's not on the national grid, or not connected. And they had bad ice storms down there, and they were out of power for like weeks. And some of these places are going to be in the same boat, I think. So,
and people were freezing in their homes. I mean, there were people freezing to death. And that did happen. I think that, again, being from Chicago, I'm used to winterized homes. I mean, even the most humble home is winterized. And I didn't realize that there are whole swaths of the country where they don't really have what we would consider appropriate heating in their homes. They're not winterized. They don't really have real heat. And you've got elderly people, or people who are sick, who are elderly. You have children who just can't take it. And that I'm down here again. I'm living in a poorly insulated home with not great heating, and this is the first time I've ever had to manage cold the way I've had to. It's fascinating. I mean, I'm doing it. Obviously, I'm sitting here, but it's really been an experience.
Yeah, you need to think warm thoughts. So a massive winter storm dumped heavy snow and ice across a huge swath. When they mention swath, it's got to be huge, of the United States over the weekend, leaving nearly 600,000 homes without power, making roads impassable and triggering thousands of flight cancellations. More than 100 million people were under winter storm warnings from New Mexico to Maine, as the system walloped roughly 2/3 of the country. The storm ushered in frigid temperatures, with sub-zero lows expected in many of the same areas throughout the end of the week. More than 24 deaths have so far been blamed on the storm, including several people who died while shoveling and others from suspected hypothermia. 6 people died when a small plane crashed upon takeoff in Bangor, Maine on Sunday night. There were no survivors there. The National Weather Service warned of widespread prolonged travel disruptions due to catastrophic ice accumulation from the lower Mississippi Valley to the mid-Atlantic. The onslaught of snow and ice hit air travel especially hard, with major carriers canceling more than 11,000 flights scheduled for Sunday and another 6,000 on Monday. Living in the South, they're not prepared for this kind of weather, right?
Not in the slightest.
The thing is, it's like they don't get ice storms on the regular down there. This isn't like an every year thing, but when it happens big. And really, like some of your major cities down there, I think Atlanta only really has like 2 snowplows, like legitimate snowplows, because people don't
have shovels. People don't have, it's in Chicago.
Well, they don't have salt on the roads. They don't do that. What they do down south is a lot of times, like especially in smaller areas, they'll put gravel along the ice to try and give you some sort of traction through it. And they have road graders, the old road graders that they use for dirt roads, they'll try to move snow, but then a lot of times that ends up damaging the roads themselves. Yeah, because I've been through a couple of ice storms in North Mississippi when I went to school there, and those roads, it's not like snow. The ice storms are way worse than a blizzard. At least with a blizzard, yeah, you may get snow accumulation, but it's movable. You can do stuff with it. This ice that's hanging from the power lines and snapping lines, it's insane.
Well, also, like down here, the city closed down. I mean, the city government buildings closed down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they and if you restaurants closed down, restaurants and bars closed down, or they closed early. And even yesterday, I was out taking a walk at night, and a lot of places were just closed. Because they're just not. Their people can't get to work. Customers aren't coming in. And this is very shocking to me because in Chicago, it doesn't particularly matter. But down here, the place is simply not equipped for it.
Yeah, because and in your northern cities like Minneapolis, Chicago, they have snow and ice every year. It doesn't matter if it's minor or major. They know they're going to get it, and they're all well prepared for it. Like we just had snowfall not too long ago, like over the weekend, and the salt is out on the sidewalks, out on the roads, and they're well prepared for it because they've been doing it forever. Like I said, down south, they don't fund something to do that, to have something ready like that every year. And maybe with climate change, the way that it's going, whether you think it's man-made or not, the climate is changing, and things are getting a lot wackier. Like I said, we're going to get like this polar vortex that's coming down tomorrow, I believe, and through the weekend, that's going to bring just like more frozen temperatures, and also there's moisture coming out of the Gulf that's going to feed a lot of this. So our buddy Willie over in North Carolina, be aware. There's going to be lots of basically a nor'easter as it travels up the eastern side of the United States. Just be careful out there. Take precautions. Wear layers. Don't think a big ass coat's just going to do it. Wear layers if you're out in this really cold important. Business. Especially if you're clearing snow or anything like that, make sure you're layered up down there. A big coat is all nice. Yeah.
Another reason to wear layers is that a lot of people don't understand this. They want to get warm. They want to stay warm. So they put on a bunch of clothes, and then they warm up, and then they get overheated. And the body does what the body does when it gets overheated. It begins to sweat. You begin to perspire. And that's a real problem because now you've started this cooling process, and that moisture gets into your clothes. A lot of fabrics, when they're wet, it's also actually going to increase hypothermia. It's not, or your chances of hypothermia. It's going to cool you down even more. It's not going to insulate you. So the idea with wearing layers is as soon as you start feeling yourself getting warm, you take off a layer. And that way you don't risk perspiration, and you're able, you get yourself done. When you start getting chilled again, put the layers back on. But you want to avoid perspiration because unless you're wearing wool, which has its own properties with insulation, you can make the matters far worse and risk hypothermia.
Yeah, and it's really like a comfort thing for yourself too. Some people a little more. They can take the cold a little more than other people, so they'll tend to wear less layers. But yeah, if you end up like, especially if you're outside for a good amount of time and you end up sweating, you're just kind of defeating the purpose. So take care of yourselves out there. Stay warm.
Yeah, please do.
And think warm thoughts at the very least.
And drink warm drinks.
Yeah, some warm drinks is good. Nice cocoa. Put a little peppermint in there.
Lemon ginger tea. I like lemon ginger tea.
Tea is good too. Probably a little more healthy, but not quite as delicious as cocoa with peppermint. Ooh,
that is true.
Yeah, and when it comes to weather like this, the Federal Emergency Management Agency.
Oh Lord,
tends to is in theory is supposed to help out. But you kind of have to be able to contact them when things are going south. weather-wise. And well, it turns out FEMA links are broken again. Wow.
Again.
This is not shocking. As FEMA, basically, whenever people are trying to get funding for disasters, they have to get permission first. You didn't say Simon Says. So if you're trying to get into community emergency response team training, which is a genuinely useful program that teaches regular people how to help their communities during disasters, you probably noticed that some of the required FEMA courses have become, let's say, elusive. You click a link, it redirects you to the FEMA homepage. You search for the course, nothing. You wonder if you're losing your mind. You're not. You know, you might be. I'm just saying. I'm not a doctor, but your mileage may vary. The link is just broken. The page has been moved, or the resource has been temporarily or not so temporarily taken down to disrupted management, shifting priorities, or the occasional government shutdown. So as always, when the government lets you down, you need a workaround, right? So the Wayback Machine is your new best friend. Because a lot of these FEMA links are what they call them, evergreen, where it's just like they're not dated, and you need that. Hey, Kate, good to see you. You can still access it through the web archive, right? So you copy the broken FEMA link, go to web.archive.org, paste the link into the search bar, browse through activated snapshots of that page when it actually existed. So broken links, broken government, it checks out, right?
Well, the thing is, I wanted to bring this up, and these folks, Hello Apocalypse, Here Comes the Apocalypse, they are a fantastic group of people who provide disaster preparedness education from a community-based, non-scaredy cat survivalist mentality. And one of the things is that FEMA does that's actually genuinely useful is they have a lot of information about how to respond to disasters and to understanding disasters. They have a great robust education program, like she mentioned, but also basic information on what to do in case of various disasters, well, including civil unrest and extreme cold and ice storms, which is what we're dealing with right now. Unfortunately, FEMA's website is not being updated. And so you've got a bunch of broken links. People can't find this information. So they're offering, again, tips and ideas for getting at that information so that you have it. One thing that I would absolutely encourage people to do is once you get that information, print it out and put it into a binder. In fact, you might, if you've got a community group or even some friends, you might want to make a party of it. Get some 3-hole punches, get some binders, get some printers together, print this stuff up and make up binders for yourself. Everybody makes a binder for their household, another binder for a friend, a neighbor, a family member, and give them the information so that people will have some kind of idea of what to do in case of a disaster. And as they point out here, tip number 3, tell your representatives this is ridiculous. This kind of basic information should be made available to the public. It is in the public interest. It is in the government's interest to have citizenry that are not freaking out, that have some idea of the appropriate way to respond to something. So in any case, I recommend checking this out. If you're not, check out the show notes. You can find that link to our Substack underneath the video. You can also just go directly to Substack. I'm actually going to pull out that link right now. Check out and check this out and subscribe. Subscribe to our Substack, or at least check out the show notes and check out what they're doing, what Here Comes the Apocalypse is doing. They're good people. Follow them on Instagram. They got a great Instagram account. I really recommend they're good folks.
Yeah, and it's not just FEMA too. It's It also has to do when you, especially in times of natural disasters, you're having to deal with it, contacting your congressperson. You may think, oh well, that's kind of a fool's errand. It's probably not going to happen. But if enough people do it, especially when you live in southern regions, the southeast, and places that are bombarded with natural disasters like hurricanes, tornadoes every year, it's a valuable resource. I don't understand. Is there waste going on in the government? Sure. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater when it comes to FEMA like that. So, and we're moving on to grocery spending as it's moving online as affordability concerns rise. I would think they're through the roof at this point. Consumer spending continues to move fluidly across digital and physical channels, but groceries are emerging as one of the clearest signals of where financial pressure is reshaping consumer behavior. While grocery prices are often used as shorthand for inflation, grocery baskets themselves have not changed dramatically in size or composition. The food going in them has, but not the baskets themselves. Instead, Payments Intelligence, that's this site here, Payments, that finds that financial stress is creating a bifurcation in grocery shopping behavior, particularly in the shift towards online channels. Consumers under high financial stress are 6 percentage points more likely to purchase groceries online than those under low stress. This pattern does not reflect a general surge in online shopping, but a targeted move towards grocery purchases that offer more visibility into prices, discounts, and budgets, right? So yeah, and you're seeing a lot more of like these grocery store apps too, where you can find the price, and like a lot of places, I think like Jewel around here, you can get points for your shopping, and sometimes you can get free items with the number of points you accumulate through this. So a lot more people are saying, well, I might as well just get my groceries online, or at least reserve them online if I don't get them delivered. And then people just come in and pick up their stuff. I saw this when I worked at Whole Foods with the Amazon shoppers in there. And they would set everything aside. A lot of times you did have delivery out to places, but you had some people who would come in and just pick up stuff because they just didn't want to be bothered with having to deal with coming into some of these stores. The price tags may be off, or they may be out of stock of something, but you can get that information before you even go into the stores if you want to go into the stores.
Yeah. Well, what I found fascinating about this is, first of all, we've reported on the past on the K-shaped economy, that people who are financially stressed are shopping in one way, and the people who are not financially stressed are spending their money on entirely differently. And I think this is another example of it. But what I really found fascinating is a lot of online shopping, particularly if you're using a delivery service, or in some cases a parking lot pickup, do incur extra fees.
Mm-hmm.
There are tips for the person who brings stuff out to you, or there are additional, you have to pay if you're getting a monthly subscription, say to Instacart or DoorDash or Uber Eats. There's that. They may have an additional fee. Sometimes cities will put additional fees on top of that. But people who are financially strapped are still choosing to go with the online shopping option. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, you get in, stores are designed to disorient you. Speaking of disorientation, I mean, discombobulation, you walk in and you think you're going to get, a loaf of bread, a quart of milk, and a stick of butter. And you walk out with, 6 bags of coffee, and 5 containers of frozen chop suey, and a new frying pan. And then you get partway home, you have to go back and actually get the stuff you went to buy. But the point is, I think that people, if you want to stick to a budget, you don't want the surprise at the cash register, right? You don't want, then suddenly you're way over budget and you're too embarrassed to put stuff back. Or you don't even have the money for it. So I think this is a way for people who are on a tight budget to ensure that they're only spending what they can afford, and they're willing to maybe eat those extra fees. So there's that. And I think also some stores now are building in, they're working with the manufacturers, and they're building in the coupon savings so that they can, they can take that, and you might point out also the loyalty programs with the points, that they can leverage that and to reduce the extra cost. And also people may be strapped for time. If people are running side gigs, sometimes as delivery drivers for these services, but they may not have the time to go grocery shopping. So I think it's indicative of a stressed and strapped population that are really having to weigh the costs and benefits at this point, but that may be finding that they are so strapped that it is better for them to possibly risk paying extra, but to ensure that they're only ordering the groceries that they can afford.
Yeah, this is true statement too. There's a reason why staples are always in the back of the store. Yeah, they want you to, and that's why you also have your last minute shopping little goodies at the registers too. There's always those things there too. There's always a gimmick to try to get you to buy more than what you came in for. Fortunately for me, I'm a stubborn shopper. I put the blinders on. I'm like, if I need milk, I go get the milk. I need eggs, I go get the eggs. I don't need any of your other stuff on the side there. But the coupons is a good point too, especially if they're like some of these stores that work with not just like major name brands, but some of the local brands too, providing these coupons as an extra incentive to shop at their store. Yeah, I mean, you hear a lot of people talk about growing their own food, and these stores are like, okay, let's not go that far.
We were talking with Willie about fitness and weight loss last night on his show, Uncle Warren, and again, this is something that people who are working to lose weight or to eat a healthier diet have learned, that one nice thing about online shopping is it's not sticking right in front of your nose. You can actually be very deliberate about building that list and buying the foods that are in your best interests. So it absolutely is there. But one thing that I would bring up to people is that there are some third-party apps like Ibotta or Aisle, where you can actually upload your receipt. Now they're doing data collection, so you got to make your own decision about that. But you can get some very decent rebates on a lot of foods. And I'm not just talking about foods and household goods, basic household goods like toilet paper, cleaning supplies, that sort of thing. And so they can help you with some cash back offers as well. Again, there's a trade-off with the data collection, but if you are looking to minimize the cost of ordering online, that's a possibility. Also, keep in mind that some places, retailers like Target, for example, they do have the option of ordering stuff and then picking up inside the store, and there are no extra fees or charges or tips for that. And that was something that I did when I was living in Chicago. I lived near, as we call it, a Target, and I would order everything in there. And I could walk there. I had my backpack and a cup or a little cart or something like that, and my bags. And I would pick everything up. I would do everything online, take advantage of every coupon, every special. I had a red card that gave me an automatic 5% discount on everything, and that actually worked out really, really well. So there are, look for in-store pickup, and if you're willing to do so, work with third-party apps that can give you additional cash back.
One thing that isn't working out is AI and companies hiring.
Oh, people. Lord. Here's another one.
The king of segue here. Yeah. Job applicants filed a proposed class action lawsuit against Eightfold AI Incorporated for allegedly using artificial intelligence to build reports on job candidates without their consent or knowledge, according to a lawsuit filed Tuesday. The company's software allegedly collected personal information from unverified third-party sources, such as social media profiles, location data, internet and device activity, cookies, and others to put through a proprietary large learning model and rank candidates on likelihood of success. Per the complaint filed in the State Superior Court of California, the complaint alleged that a number of high-profile companies used eightfold AI in their job candidate screening process. Two plaintiffs brought the lawsuit due to their belief that they were screened out of job candidacy for positions for which they were qualified, according to Eaton and Golden LLP, one of the law firms representing the plaintiffs. Eightfold AI did not immediately respond to a request for comment because they were trying to think up of a bullshit excuse for what they're doing. I am not a fan of AI generated anything when it comes to, especially when it comes to hiring people, right? I understand you may have like an influx of candidates for a job and you might need some help sifting through those, but I think that should be human eyes only, because when you do that, now people are just going to generate resumes with AI to match your algorithm, and then whether you have the qualifications or not, it doesn't matter, because the keywords match up, and I think that is pretty scary when it comes to that kind of thing.
Well, and they also, the other issue is that AI often gets a collection, it gets things wrong. Human beings get things wrong too, but AI can be very amusing in some cases. I was recently working with an AI tool, and I was checking it, and it was a recent news article that it had summarized, but it referred to former President Donald Trump. Former president. And it was obviously just taking the slot, taking stuff from everywhere. And there was enough references in its sources to former President Trump that it just threw it right in there and it didn't check itself. But one of the things is this: when you apply for a job, now jobs have the hiring managers in the US have broad powers to hire you or not. And on the whole, I agree with that, because there are a lot of intangibles that are involved with hiring somebody, and you want somebody who's a good fit within your organization. But it is also, job candidates also have the right to know, to be informed if a background check revealed something that caused the employer to either not hire them, or for that matter, current employees have a right to know if the employer used a third-party source to either deny them a promotion or to fire them, or something along those lines. And with these AI tools, it's gathering up information about a person that may not be accurate, and the person may not have, is suing. These folks, I think, are suing because they feel they should have the right to that information, even though it's not technically a third-party report or background screen or a credit report. I think they want a broadened definition of a background check or a report to include these AI tools that operate differently than a flat, straight out report, but are doing much the same thing. And they're influencing a person's job candidacy. And again, it could also influence whether you get a raise, whether you get a promotion.
Mm-hmm.
And there is going to be a need to expand or to make changes within the regulatory environment to ensure that job candidates and employees are getting a fair shake.
Yeah, and you make a good point too about how AI can be flawed. I've noticed that too. I never take anything for 100% true when it comes to that. I'll use AI for like technical kind of questions if I'm having problems with a program or something like that. I'll ask it that. But when it comes to like more important things, like when it comes to legal stuff, and of course when it comes to job stuff too, you always I hate to quote Reagan, but he said, trust but verify. So you can trust up to a certain point, but always get some human eyes on there too as well. So finally today in the old recurring tide, we got a lot of water coming in on the recurring tide today. It's been This year is the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and we still got people in prison. So it's 24 right now. It'll be 25 in September, but 24 years after 9/11, 15 are still imprisoned at Guantanamo in Cuba. And it's also, and it says here, the naval base is also used for migrant detentions in 2025. So on January 11th, thousands of citizens of many countries held vigils for the 15 men still in the U.S. military prison at the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo, Cuba, as these citizens have been doing for more than 2 decades, from London to Washington, D.C. to Honolulu, Hawaii. They are the voices of conscience for one of the most brutal episodes in U.S. history, the torture and imprisonment of hundreds of men who had nothing to do with the events of September 11th, 2001. So on January 11th, 2002, 24 years ago, the first 20 detainees from Afghanistan arrived by military aircraft to the U.S. naval base in Guantanamo, Cuba. In Guantanamo, they were initially kept in a place called Camp X-Ray, in cages in the open air with snakes and rodents free to enter the cages. Over the next months and years, a total of 780 detainees from 48 countries were brought to the prison from Afghanistan, Pakistan, and dark sites in many countries that signed on to help extract information from detainees through torture overseen by the CIA. Many of the 780, about 86%, were purchased by the CIA and U.S. military from neighbors or others with a grudge. When Guantanamo Bay opened, they were just throwing people in there left and right, calling people terrorists. No trial. There was no probable cause. None of that. They were just a lot of those people were suspected, didn't have access to lawyers, and you did see some reform somewhat after that because of all the backlash. But it's the same thing as what they're doing now. There's a lot of this indiscriminate. There's no proof of, like, going after immigrants, illegal immigrants, right? Anybody can be an illegal immigrant, and the fact is they're probably rounding up more legal immigrants and U.S. citizens than they are the actual illegal ones. So this was, I think Guantanamo was a scare tactic and a cautionary tale for anybody else. Like, this is the new America, and this is how we do things.
Yeah, I included this in just to remind folks that Guantanamo is still there, and this is yeah.
And we're still, and it's been there, under both Trumps, under Biden, under Obama. Of course, George W. Bush was the one who got the ball rolling on that. So, it's very hard for us to talk about freedom in the United States when we're doing stuff, having basically these internment camps for people that may or may not even deserve to be there. And a lot of those people, they were just caught up in it. Wrong place, wrong time. And the optics of it, is anytime you're trying to control people, there's two optics: is division and fear, right? And this it was meant to scare people. You don't mess with the United States, although there's questionable reasons why 9/11 happened. That's for another time and
another
place,
show,
I guess. Yeah,
another show.
Yeah. So and 25. So this year's gonna be 25 years since 9/11, and we still have the Department of Homeland Security. How about that? We don't
ICE, baby. Yeah. But, yeah.
And ICE. It's just that was not for our protection. That was for the government's protection. So let's I don't know, put on your trunks. Let's go in the press pool here as we're talking about Larry Ellison, that crypt keeper. Larry Ellison's Oracle, part of New Deal to own U.S. version of TikTok. I know James Lee did a video. God, look at him, man. He looks like Skeletor. Until we meet again. That TikTok, if you haven't seen the James Lee video, his recent one about TikTok and how scary it is with the censorship, please do so. A major Trump billionaire ally is now the partial owner of the social media platform TikTok. Group of investors, including Larry Ellison's company Oracle, agreed to a $14 billion deal to give them control of the U.S. version of the platform, being spun off from ByteDance, a Chinese-owned company. In 2024, Congress banned TikTok, claiming national security concerns. Take a drink. Anytime you hear national security, it's the drinking game. Concerns over its ties to China, but Trump has allowed the platform to keep operating as a deal was worked out. Ellison is also the largest shareholder of Paramount, the parent company of CBS. And one thing that James Lee pointed out in his video, he was talking about let's just say it is extremely Israel friendly. TikTok is now. And he actually did an example in a DM. He was typing out a DM to somebody, and he mentioned just Epstein, just the name Epstein, not his whole name, just his last name, and it came up with a thing that's like this little exclamation point in the circle, like, you know, our community guidelines. And he did it didn't even mention the context. It was just you just mentioning that name was a, you know, and
no, he could have been talking about the character on Welcome Back, Kotter.
Yeah, you know, if you put Juan Epstein in there, you know, I got a note from my mother. But yeah, and now you're starting to see droves of people leave TikTok and go to this new app called Unscrolled. Is it Unscrolled? Upscrolled. That's what it's called. I'm my boomer brain there for a second. And it's basically ran by
X. Your Gen X, Warren. Man.
Upscrolled is run by a Palestinian investor, I believe. And I believe it's become the #1 app of its kind on the stores there, and people from TikTok and X, those folks are starting to freak out because people are starting to leave because they're tired of the censorship. Who would have thought that people wouldn't like censorship, Lainey?
Well, you know, I put it in the press. I put this story in the press pool because social media is the way people get news. And I want people to know that, you know, okay, TikTok, that this deal has been brokered, and this is who is taking control. I want people to know about it. I'm hearing all kinds of goofy stories, by the way, from creators who are not even discussing. They're not discussing, for example, electoral politics. They're not discussing Palestine or Israel, but they're talking about other issues, and they're finding their stuff is just not showing up. So just to be aware of that. And that's one of the reasons why we have a Substack, Uncle Warren, and why we have the presence on so many different places, because I learned with Hard Lens, we learned very quickly that if the algorithm doesn't like you, you can lose your channel, you can lose your following. So we try to make it as easy as possible for people to get in touch with us, so we can get in touch with you and let you know this is where we're going to be.
Yeah, and the fact that this is just blatant censorship at this point is very it's very disturbing. I'm not surprised by it, but it's still, when you actually see it in practice like that, it's pretty disturbing. And what's been going on with public media too has been disturbing as well. Public media holds its apocalypse at bay for now, though Congress cut $500 million from NPR and PBS stations. Vanishingly few have closed their doors. Angst about their long-term future remains. So things looked bleak last summer for KCAW, a tiny public radio station serving the remote community of Sitka, Alaska, population 8,300, about 8,400. Congress had just slashed $500 million in funding for public media, blowing a $187,500 hole in the station's budget. Mariana Robertson, the station's general manager, said she had faced a potential doomsday situation that included cutting staff. Then the donations poured in. Now Ms. Robertson is one of many station directors across America who finds themselves in unexpected territory, first expecting the worst, but then buoyed by a flood of emergency funding that has kept their station stable and surviving for now. It's a huge success story, and we're so grateful and thrilled, but the future is unclear, she said. So yeah, I think that's what the metamorphosis of these stations are. Because of how, like you had spoken early, in a few shows back about the need for these, they just basically became community radio and TV stations, right? And these communities rely on them so much, and they're so they provide so many good services for them that now it seems like these communities are rallying around these stations to help keep them going, which I think is a great idea. I guess I would love to have more public funding go in there, but if the government is going to be, act like a child like that, then it's great to see like the local community standing up for their own.
It is. And I think, again, this is one of those things that, being from Chicago, I didn't realize the importance of some of these public stations to communities. Moving down here, there is one public station here that really does provide news coverage. It's not like Chicago, where we have multiple news stations like WBBM, WGN that do an excellent job in addition to public stations. And down here, when I try the AM dial or anything for news coverage, I get somebody ranting about how liberals are mentally ill. Now, I don't call myself a liberal. I haven't called myself a liberal in a long time, but that's not helpful news coverage. And there are just whole areas where they don't have the luxury of professional broadcast stations and real news departments. And so I think that this is encouraging. It does show that people value, small town Americans value their local media, and they value their local radio stations. And it's an uncertain time, and I'm hoping that they're able to maintain this. And if they can work with their donors, work with local businesses to keep that money coming in, possibly working with grant writers, because there are other foundations that might be willing to donate specifically to these small town stations. That's good news. But I want people to know that this is still happening, and that people do value these stations. They want to support them, and I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, it's like we talked about earlier too. You couple that with the distrust of the mainstream media. People are turning more and more towards alternative news sources, and a lot of those news sources are on their public channels, which are brought to them by their local people. So it's the communities bringing information to themselves like that, almost like a self-sustained ecosystem. And you're probably going to see more and more of that as they try to devalue NPR and PBS and those types of things. I think that's the trend, is you're going to see more community focused type media outlets like that, instead of weaning off the teat, as it were, off the national and getting more local. And that's good to see. And if you're one of these people that wants to get into local journalism, please do so. We need more independent voices out there to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So we go from this to the clownfish. It's clown time. It's time to clown, especially if you're a hotel. Getting rid of bathroom doors. This is a bizarre story. So hotels are getting rid of proper bathroom doors, and guests are revolting. Yes, because you kind of want a little privacy there in the bathroom.
I believe that pooping in peace is a basic human right.
Right. I want to be in a tomb when I'm pooping. I don't want anything. I don't want any open doors or anything like that. So first they came for the closets, then they took the bathtubs. Now hotels are stripping away the only thing separating us from the animals, the bathroom door. Guests are waving goodbye to the luxury of a fully closable, opaque barrier between the restroom and bedroom, checking in to find sliding barn doors, curtains, strategically placed walls, and other placements that aren't as proficient in the art of noise and smell containment, especially the smell containment. That's probably the most important. In some cases, they're not even good at hiding the view. You couldn't see the fine details, but you could see everything else, said Denise Milano Sprung of the frosted bathroom door of the hotel she shared with her husband at Calgary Airport Marriott. I've been married for 25 years. I love my husband, but I don't want to see him use the restroom. Sprung has spent some 2 decades traveling for work. Her husband's speaking engagements and her son's hockey games. The executive at a financial planning firm on New York's Long Island has come to appreciate the simplicity of the non-transparent bathroom door. Mid-price hotel chains have long operated on thin margins to keep rates appealing. Okay, you're trying to save money, but really you want to get rid of the
Just read on. This is something else.
But the push to cut costs has become more urgent. Business and groups travel is still lagging post-pandemic, while staffing, construction, and energy bills soared. According to Lisa Chervinsky, a lecturer at the Cornell Peter and Stephanie Nolan School of Hotel Administration. That was my old job. In the eyes of a chief financial officer, the humble door can look like a money pit. Closing off an often windowless room to natural light means guests will run up energy bills and leave maintenance with more light bulb changing work. Concrete and wood are expensive. Door handles jam and break. The Americans with Disability Act requires a door frame wide enough for a wheelchair. Many of the early modifications had drawbacks. Hotel architects installed pocket doors that don't require space to swing inward or outward, but have mechanisms that are costly to maintain. Can't believe we're talking about doors here. Curtains get dusty. Sliding barn doors have gotten more popular, but they can be unreliable closers. So when designing this, we wanted a door that allows you to both see and hear everything that's happening behind. That's comedian Becca Harris said in a sketch about sliding doors. This door is designed to either move your relationship forward or end it. The ventilation defense rings hollow for critics who say keeping the doors odors contained is the whole point of a sealed bathroom. Right. Yeah. You don't want to, you don't want to use chemical weapons on your own people there. This is insane. More than 500 hotels, including the One Hotel Central Park, AC Hotel Tokyo Ginza, and Andaz Mexico City Condesa, have been listed in the no door group. So if you're traveling, that's just keep in mind, your poop is going to be out there for everybody.
I think, yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is, I've seen this a little bit, and it's the sort of thing that's like, you're doing this because you don't want to maintain the door. You don't want to, and you want people to not use, I guess they feel like the door shuts off light and that sort of thing. They don't want to pay utility bills, and you're going to jeopardize people's privacy in their hotel rooms. I get the fact that in the States, our so-called public restrooms, which are actually usually in private stores and that sort of thing, but that's not a hotel room. A hotel room is a private place. You have a lock on it. You have the use of that room while you are in there. And I just saw this and I just busted out laughing, because I have seen this sort of thing, that it makes it very difficult to maintain any kind of privacy. You have people who might be traveling with a coworker. They may be sharing rooms with friends and that sort of thing. And the idea of a separate bathroom where people do not have to see you, even in silhouette, use the facilities, and they don't have to smell it, at least for the time being. You have a chance to fumigate it before you get out. Seems to me pretty basic, but the hotel industry is finding ways to mess around with that. So there it is.
Yeah, pretty soon there's not going to be walls. You're just going to be out in like a factory, like kind of like a warehouse situation where it's just no walls. You just get in there. You got a bed and a sink. Maybe you have a sink, or maybe it's a bucket with a ladle in it, and they'll still charge you the same price as if it was an actual hotel room.
Andrew, just want to point out to Andrew here that we're talking about in the hotel rooms themselves, the private rooms. This is not, we have our public bathroom stalls here are not private at all. There's a big gaps between the sides and the doors and all that. And that's to keep people from loitering in them or setting up residence, apparently. Unlike in Europe, where they do have a lot more privacy. And there are places here that do have some privacy, but we're talking in people's own hotel rooms. They may not even have a door, an actual closing door that seals things off, so people can luxuriate in their facilities.
Yeah. If somebody wants to see me poop, all right, let's, it'd be
a fundraiser for the show.
I ain't shy. When it's go time, it's go time. And when nature calls, I don't have call waiting. So if I'm in one of those situations, I'm like, you might want to go downstairs to the lobby and hang out for a bit and leave the Lysol, please. Finally, today we go to Vancouver, of course, Canada, the crazy place of Canada, where personal failure gets celebrated as Vancouver's Museum of Personal Failure finds victory in defeat. So British Columbia residents are putting their own misfires on display at the Museum of Personal Failure in Vancouver. The exhibition at the Kingsgate Mall was dreamed up by Burnaby resident Ivan Collins, who was inspired by the end of a romantic relationship. I just needed to do something with it, and this is what I did, Collins told Canadian Broadcasting Company News, CBC. Collins put up posters across the region seeking exhibits with the headline "Failures Wanted." I knew I heard my name called. For me, it's sort of a combination catharsis / concept exploration. Collins told Vancouver is awesome. I guess that's a website there. I guess at this point, what it's become is an anthropological look at what constitutes failure to an individual and what that looks like in material form. The pop-up museum features a wall of reject, which is plastered with various submitted employment application rejections and firing notices. Jennifer Campbell, Collins's mother, submitted her wedding dress for display. I wanted to sort of tell a story about a failing that occurred in my marriage and how we were able to move on, she said. I called it Threads of Innocence because it's about the innocence of false fairy tales or things that you think are going to happen when you're young and it doesn't happen. See, this is right up my alley here. Disappointment. It's all about it. Casey Valensky, a bladesmith with Lynn Valley Forge, submitted a knife he made that turned out to be unsharpenable due to the chemical properties of his quenching oil. And folks, make sure you choose the right quenching oil if you're going to quench something. Failure is a step forward. You don't go forward unless you fail. You have to be able to look back at your failures, figure out why they failed, and change the process and move on. The museum also features photographs and other artifacts of failed relationships, as well as tie rods from a failed car repair, a record of failed songs from a local music producer, and a stamp Collins attempted to make to promote the museum. I got most of the way through before it occurred to me that this was going to make a backwards image. He said each item is accompanied by a written explanation from the person who submitted it. Looking at the actual objects, you're like, this is just a thing, but within the context, it's imbued with meaning. He said it's interesting looking at a scrap from a person's life and then to hear the story behind it. The Museum of Failure runs through February 3rd at the Kingsgate Mall in Vancouver. So Kate, if you're out in there, if you want to be our roving reporter and go check out the museum, she's in the Vancouver area, you can do so. A museum for failure. Boy, if we did that in the United States, we'd have to have like the Mall of America in Minnesota size place to fill that up for American failures, right?
I love it. I love the idea that, there's this thing it's a cognitive error called success bias, where we assume that just because somebody was successful at something, that they knew what they were doing, or that they are offering a step-by-step path for success for other people, which is not necessarily the case, and that people might want to pay a little bit more attention to failures rather than people who are successful, because it could actually give you some ideas of how to avoid them. And also, a lot of people who are very successful had a whole lot of failures oftentimes in the past. So I love this kind of this, hey, let's just talk about, let's not try and hide this. Let's just talk about it, bring forth, we're human, this is what we do. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, we shouldn't be afraid to show our failings like that, and especially if you learn from them, and then maybe you can pass on that knowledge to somebody else. Maybe that's what they call a cautionary tale, but it's better to be educated in various fashions than to not be educated at all, I guess I should say. So good on them. Canada there in Vancouver. I always talk about how things smell like disappointment, but I didn't know there was an actual museum for it, so that's pretty cool. We do have a programming note of mine coming up this evening. I'm going to have my buddy Jamar Jabari is going to be on with us. We're going to be talking about ICE, all the recent developments in Minnesota. What's going on? Is Trump actually stepping down or toning it down in Minnesota, or is that just more BS from him? We'll be talking with him. Good kid. I've had him on before, and a great musician as well too. So we'll be talking about some of that as well, but mostly the ICE stuff, because it is prominent in the news, and we need to rally the troops and get everybody together and get educated on this, on the right, get on the same page with this, because there's a lot of misinformation going on about ICE. A lot of people, some people in our audience are being misled, and we want to make sure that everybody understands the real deal that's going on. So that's going to be tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time on my usual channels on YouTube, Rumble, and the Book of Faces. So I believe that's going to do it for us today, Lainey.
Great show, Uncle Warren, and thanks to everybody who joined us today.
You say that now. I don't know what that means. No, I thought it was good. I enjoyed our conversation with Willie last night on the Willie Bragg Show. If you haven't checked that out, check out Willie Bragg TV on YouTube. I think he's also on Twitch too as well. So appreciate him having us on. Hopefully we'll return the favor and have him on here at some point as well too. So any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Reminder, next week, time change. Moving forward an hour, we're going to be at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time, and you make the adjustments. If you want a reminder of all this, please do click on our show notes or our Substack, subscribe to that, and you will get a notice in your email about it. We'll also have it up on our socials.
Yep, and we'll probably have some other changes too. We'll let you know as they come along. As well, as far as like where you can see this and whatnot. Like Lainey said, we're trying to put more of a focus on our Undercurrent channel. So if you haven't subscribed, it's the Undercurrent for you, the number 4 and YOU. Just look for us and like and subscribe. We got shorts on there too that if you're interested, if it kind of piques your interest and you want to watch the whole show, you can do that as well as but we really like it when you join us in the community here. If you can join us live, that's great.
We love it
because we love your input, whether we agree with it or not. We do enjoy conversating with you and because your opinions matter. And
we love it when people show up.
Yeah, we love when people show up, and we love good conversations too. So that's going to do it for us. Remember next week, it's going to be noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific time for the show. So it's kind of like was it spring forward with the time change, only it's not spring yet, and this is kind of a permanent thing until we change it again. So anyway, peace up. Exactly. So good to see everybody. Take care. We'll see you next week. Peace.